Hello there, my name is Vanessa and today I wanted to film some tag videos. The first one that I'm going to film is a Netflix book tag. I was tagged by Sabrina from Unmanaged Mischief to do this. I was really excited because Sabrina's channel is one of my favorites. If you're not subscribed to her, you definitely should be. The first question is, recently watched, so the book you finished last. The last thing I finished is Mouse Volume 1 by Art Spiegelman. The next question is top picks, a book or books you've been recommended based on a book you've previously read. The only thing that I came up with was the last thing that Valentina recommended to me. It's called On Tyranny, 20 Lessons from the 20th Century, and it's by Timothy D. Snyder. It looks at the history of totalitarianism in the 20th century and kind of how those occurrences are possible in our time now. So it's definitely looking at history and trying to see what we can learn from history for the kind of turbulent political times we are facing right now. And this sounded right up my alley. I put it automatically on hold at the library. I think I'm like 9th in line right now for it. The next question on this list is recently added, a book you most recently bought. The last thing I bought was actually something my mom bought for me, and this was while I was in Buenos Aires visiting her, and that is El Principito. This is a well-known children's classic. A lot of people know The Little Prince. I've never read it, and I thought it would be great to purchase one there. I purchased it at their beautiful Ateneo bookshop, which is like at an old opera theater, which is like super beautiful and extravagant. I bought it in Spanish. I always think to myself, if I want to read in Spanish, I should really read children's books in Spanish because I don't read Spanish often. The next question on here is popular on Netflix, so books everyone knows about, 2 you've read and 2 you're interested in. 2 I've read, I selected My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante, which I feel like everybody knows about and was one that I read and really enjoyed. Even just thinking about it, the more I think about that book since I finished it, the more I realized how wonderful it was and how deeply satisfying those characters are to learn about. Another one that I picked, since I picked one I really loved, I picked one that I was kind of more meh about, and that is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I have read V.E. Schwab before. I read Vicious and I really enjoyed Vicious, but after reading A Darker Shade of Magic I did not connect really with any of the characters. While I enjoyed her writing style, it didn't leave that imprint on me, and I definitely didn't want to pick up the next 2. And then 2 that I'm interested in, when I made my original answers to this tag, I put Homegoing on here, which I'm currently reading, but I haven't finished it, right? So it's not read, technically. So one I'm interested in. It's one I feel everybody has talked about, especially in their 2016 lists, as one that they really enjoyed. I hope it gets to that point like everybody has felt about it when they finished it. And the next thing I put on here is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This is another really hyped book that I am interested in and that a lot of people here talk about, and it's gotten some really great reviews, so I'm excited to get to it. The last time I checked on my library holds, I was like 13th in line for it, which is a lot better because I used to be 19th in line for it. The next question on here is comedies, so a funny book, and for this one I thought to talk about Super Mutant Magic Academy by Jillian Tamaki, and this one is so lovely and so humorous and is one of those books that very rare books that has made me laugh out loud. Books don't usually elicit that reaction in me. It is not really one main arc, it's just lots of random comics that are sort of about the same characters, and it just pokes fun at like our culture, it pokes fun at like social justice ideas, it pokes fun at gender. I really enjoyed it, and I felt like the characters were really fun and relatable. The next question on here is dramas, so a character who is a drama king or queen. For this one I thought of Jonesy right away. It's a graphic novel following Jonesy, who's definitely a drama queen, but in a funny, entertaining way. She's a high school girl and she's kind of anti-love and anti-romance, and she has a superpower. The art style I would say is a little kooky, but I really enjoyed it and I felt it fit really well with the characters. It ended up being a really sweet story, so I would recommend Jonesy. The next question on here is animated, so a book with cartoons on the cover. I read lots of graphic novels that would qualify for this, so I'll mention the last thing I read, I guess, Paper Girls Volume 1. I'm waiting for Volume 2. The next question on here is watch again, so it's a book or series you want to reread. For this one I picked Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. I read this in high school and have not read it again, but I would really like to reread it. I found this copy at a used, I think it might have been a Goodwill, or a used bookstore. I want to reread this to see if it holds up because I really enjoyed it when I was younger, but I might have a completely different reaction upon rereading it. The next question on here is documentaries, so it's a nonfiction you'd recommend to everyone. For this one, I could say lots of things because I really enjoy nonfiction. 3 of the greatest nonfiction things I read last year include Ghetto Side, which looks into how one specific detective has such a high clearance rate in solving murder cases in South Central Los Angeles, and it's really expertly written by Jill Levy. The next thing that I would recommend is Into Thin Air if you're looking for an adventure story that has pretty hard consequences. It's about Mount Everest and climbing it. It's really informative in how it describes what it takes to climb it, but then it's also got some ethics questions, which I really enjoyed learning about when it comes to a really big disaster that occurred on the mountain when the author was climbing it. And the last thing I would recommend is the graphic memoir series, and that is March by John Lewis. This series was my favorite thing that I read in all of 2016, and I will not stop telling you to read it. The next question is action adventure, so you're supposed to talk about something that has lots of action or adventure. For this one, I thought to talk about Outlander because I think Outlander sometimes has the reputation of being like a romance book or a time-traveling book, and if I'm ever asked what is Outlander about, I would say it is an adventure story. It has lots of action. The relationship is at the core, but I think the action and the adventure is one of the biggest parts of Outlander. Don't remind me that I still have not read Dragonfly and Amber. And finally, the last question is new releases, so a book that is out or coming up that you want to read. And for this one, I selected another graphic novel, Spell on Wheels Volume 1, and this is looking to be like a graphic novel about witches, which I am so about because I have not read a story that focuses on witches in a long time, and a graphic novel that focuses on witches, that sounds really cool. Hopefully it has some like charmed elements because I think it does deal with either sisters or really close friends, but I thought that that sounded fun and I heard about it on Goodreads. Those are all the questions for the Netflix book tag. Thanks so much for tagging me, Sabrina. As for who I'm going to tag, I really don't know who hasn't done this tag. So I'll say Bree, if you haven't done this, do it. Anna, if you haven't done this, do it. And Erin from the Bibliotherapist, if you haven't done this, do it. Thanks so much for watching my video. I hope I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye. The last thing that I finished last night was Mouse Volume... Ow, I just stabbed myself in the eye.